Same to you, sir. Same to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good morning to all. Today, I welcome all of you for the celebration of Wetland Day on behalf of Department of Geology, Pune College, Arts, Commerce and Science, Camp Pune. Today, the world has been celebrating World's Wetland Day on 2nd Feb. So we do as entirely a Pune College alone. And today's theme is, or the yearly theme is based on Wetland Action for people and nature. To start with this occasion, I would invite one of our students, Mr. Samir Khan, to recite few verses from the Holy Quran. Over to Samir Khan.
Good morning, sir. सर मैं आज आपको अलास्का समंदर में एक जगह ऐसी है जहाँ पर दो समंदर मिलते हैं बट उनका पानी नहीं होता, पानी अलग अलग रहता है। उससे रिलेटेड हमारे कुरान के अंदर आयत नाजिल हुई है, वो आयत मैं आपके सामने पेश करूंगा। सूरा रहमान की आयत है, आयत नंबर 18। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम मरजल बैरैनि अल्तकियान बैनहुमा बरज़खुन ला यब्ज़ियान वबिअय्यि आलाइ
Samir, unmute yourself. Samir, unmute करो. Samir, unmute yourself. Now proceed.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes. Now okay. Please
Sabir,
proceed.
you can repeat. I mean, yeah, you can start from again. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. सर अलास्का में एक समंदर है अलास्का खाड़ी के अंदर। उसके अंदर दो समंदर मिक्स, यानी उसमें लगता है कि वो मिक्स हो रहे हैं बट उनका पानी मिक्स नहीं होता है। आपने देखा होगा उसका, यानी एक ब्लू कलर का ग्लेशियर से वाटर निकलता है और दूसरा है दो दरियाओं से बहता है। उनका वाटर यानी एक दूसरे में मिक्स नहीं होता है कलर। उससे रिलेटेड हमारे कुरान के अंदर आयत आई है। हमारा मानना है कि वो कुरान की आयत उससे रिलेटेड है। सूरा रहमान की आयत है, आयत नंबर 18। सर आयत ऐसी है, अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम मरजल बैनि अल्तकियान बैनहुमा बरज़खुन ला यब्ग़ियान फबिअय्यि आलाइ रब्बिकुमा तुकज़्ज़िबान। इसमें दो समंदर बहाए, तर्जुमा है, इसमें दो समंदर बहाए देखने में मालूम हो कि मिले हुए है, उनमें रुख है, एक दूसरे पर पढ़ नहीं सकते, तो अपनी रब की कौन सी नेमत को जुटलाओगे। सर इसका तर्जुमा ऐसा है कि हमारे रब ने, अल्लाह ताला ने दो समंदर बहाए हैं। देखने में मालूम होता है कि एक दूसरे में मिले हुए पर एक दूसरे से अलग है, एक दूसरे पढ़ नहीं सकते, एक दूसरे में मिल नहीं सकते, तो तुम अपनी रब की कौन सी नेमत को जुटलाओगे।
Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you, Samir. Now I would request Dr. Sajid Hudekar, Head of Geology Department, to introduce us the guest come speaker of the session. Over to Sajid, sir.
Good morning, everyone, and Assalamu alaikum.
Good morning, sir.
Sajid Hudekar, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Geology. It's immense pleasure me introducing today's chief guest and speaker, Dr. Raymond Duraswami, who born on 13th January 1970, and he's completed his graduation from Nauroji Wadia College, Pune in 1992, and postgraduate and PhD from Department of Geology, University of Pune in 1994 and 2008, respectively. He worked as a project assistant in 1994 to 1996, DST and JRF 1996 to 98, and CSIR SRF, that is Senior Research Fellow 1998 to 2000, before joining the Groundwater Survey and Development Agency, and GOM as a junior geologist 2000 to 2009. He presently works as an assistant professor at Department of Geology, Savitribai Phule, Pune University, and has varied interest in igneous petrology, physical volcanology, and hydrogeology. He is the in the Department of Geology. He is the instrumental, and he is a key role player in this field, that is the igneous petrology, volcanology, and hydrogeology. Hydrogeochemistry of groundwater from the Deccan Traps and associated formations. He has co-edited 5 books. That is a very, very important one. And he has published 63 papers in national as well as international journals. His interests include physical volcanology and hydrogeology of Deccan Traps of India, and study of ophiloids from Himalayas, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And one of our students, Tahira Sheikh, he has been joined as a PhD student, and she has worked field work in high time in Himalayas when she is pregnant. Sir has told me this incident when we have been met in a university. So that is I like very much that this is our students who has doing all the whatever the efforts they are taking and shine in the department of University of Pune. He is concerned about geo-environmental issues, climate change and disasters. That's why today we have been called him as a guest speaker for the wetland. And he, the hot spring from Himalayas, that is a very, very interesting. And I'm also interested in hot springs from Himalayas, Sahyadri, and their economic exploitation are of special interest to him. In India, he worked in diverse terrain such as higher Himalayas of Ladakh, Karakoram, Sikkim, and Andaman, and especially the Ladakh and Karakoram. I am sitting whenever I have free time. I have been sitting on the YouTube, and I am going to see these particular Ladakh and Karakoram. I have been very interested in these particular areas, the Thar deserts, salt lakes of Kutch. He also visited countries like Malawi, Iran, France, Norway, Sweden, Georgia, in connection with geological mapping. He is a fellow and life member of professional organizations like Geological Society of India, Bangalore, Indian Science Congress Association, Calcutta, Gondwana Society, Nagpur, Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology, Dehradun, and Indian Society of Geometrics. At present, 8 PhD scholars working on the diverse geo-environmental topics as are registered under his guidance. I welcome you, sir, on the behalf of principal management and the department for the today's function, and thanks accepting our invitation on the telephone itself. And he has given a good remarks about my 2 students. Now they are my colleagues. One is Muhammad Ali Mangi, and second one Mosid. These 2 are the students of Raymond sir. And sir has told me that whatever the geology students from Pune College are there, they are the gems.
Yes.
Over to Muhammad Ali Mangi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the brief introduction about the guest and speaker of this session, Dr. Duraswami. Now would we request Dr. Duraswami to begin the talk. Over to sir.
Thank you, Hundekari sir. Thank you, Mohammed. Irfan sir, I am very happy to be to give this talk to Pune College students. I have some wonderful experiences with your ex students. Some of them are now faculty, and I am very happy to be on this occasion. I also would like to thank Samir for educating me on this river that he was speaking from the verses of the Quran. It's an amazing experience to learn something immediately, and I will read about that area also. And thank you for having me over here. If you can allow me to share my screen, then I can start my presentation.
Sir, yes, sir. You are a host. So you
Okay,
can share the screen.
yeah. So is my screen visible now? Or,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I will try to put it on. Yeah, is it visible now, please? So students, I have very good nostalgic memories with the faculty of Pune College, including the ex head of department. And I learned a lot of things from him in terms of geochemistry and other aspects. And I'm happy to be here. Really, it's a wonderful thing. But all of that introduction that Sajid Hundikari sir did is not truly worthy of me in terms of the topic on wetlands. So I'm as good as that guy holding the tail of this topic, right? So I'm not an expert on wetlands, and I accepted the invitation only because it's family out there. And the moment the invitation was given, I said, okay, let's at least interact with students of Pune College, right? So I quickly, as Sajid Hundikari sir said, that this is one of my favorite students. Everyone knows that. Very down-to-earth person, Taira Inamdar. And she married another ex-students from Pune College, Mustaqim Inamdar, and she has been working in the Himalayas. And thanks to Taira, she has been a force to reckon with. Okay, because she's very well studied and very mild-mannered personality. I learn a lot from her. So if Taira can do it at 4,500 meters above sea level, and as Sajid Hundikari sir said, anyone can do it. And I'm happy that Pune College students are taking up the challenges even at these altitudes. So as you know, most of India was in the southern hemisphere, along with this supercontinent called as Gondwana land. And about 120 million years before, this supercontinent broke up, and India was the Chota Bhai over here. He was the smallest. It was the smallest chunk of land amongst giants: Africa, Antarctica, Australia. And so the small continent needs to make way for the larger guys. It's like when you're driving a motorcycle, and there are trucks around. So they keep bossing you around, right? So India left from the southern hemisphere, 23.5 degrees Celsius south, to its upward journey towards the north. And it came and collided with the Eurasian plate, that is with Tibet, that is with part of the Chinese plate, to form the Himalayas. So this is a known fact that India did something very spectacular. And during this journey, it went through several climatic zones. Okay, so it went from 23 degrees south to 23.5 degrees north. Okay, if you go to Bhopal, Ujjain, or north of Bhuj, or north of Nagpur, then you are at the Tropic of Cancer, 23.5. And so India is now in a temperate zone. So the tip is Kerala, which is a subtropical climate, And in the Himalayas, there is a cold desertic environment. So this is very important from the evolution and the diversity of wetlands in our country. So this is the higher Himalayas. This is a photograph taken from the airplane of Ladakh, where Tyra is working for the past 10 years. Incidentally, we just submitted yesterday the thesis of Tyra on this area. So Himalaya, that is the abode of snow. And you can see that these were basically from 6,000 meters below sea level to 6,000 meters above sea level. And herein lies a unique area which is close to the Tibet Plateau and Ladakh, where we have the Trans-Himalayas. That is, this is not the Himalayas per se, but this is the Karakoram range. And along that is this area known as the Somarari area, which is famous for the Somarari Wetland and the Pangong So, the same Pangong So where the last shots of the movie Three Idiots was filmed. And this forms the cold desert of our country. Okay, so we have Gilgit here, Kargil is there, and we have Pakistan out there. We have China, and towards the northernmost part, we have in Ladakh two wetlands, Somarari and Pangong So. So this is the beautiful panoramic view of the Somarari Lake. And you can see in the background for students of geology that we have the nices of the Somarari Dome. This is the last village, and where I'm standing is from the Chinese end. So this is the beautiful, placid, completely turquoise blue lake, azure blue lake, the first wetland in India, the Somarari Lake. I will skip this. For geologists, you know that Somarari is 850 million years old, Pan-African, so developed when Africa and India were together. And they have the Somarari, or popularly known as the Puganais. And the Puganais holds the eclogites, in which went down to 120 kilometers and came back. Okay, so we have one PhD of Malika over here, another lady who worked in the Himalayas on this dome. And so you have the structure of the gneissic dome, which borders the wetland. So the wetland geochemistry, the water over here, is a reflection of rain, which is not monsoon rain. It comes from the Pamirs, plus the rock weathering that you see in the background of this picture. And this constitutes the first lake which gets frozen in most of the winter. It's still frozen, I am told, as of now. And you can see the small lake over there. This is the Sokar Lake before the Somarari. And this wetland is typically saline. And this wetland is where the great birds from Siberia arrive. So the Siberian cranes live and nest over here. Ladakh today is a union territory, and the official state bird of Ladakh is the black-necked crane, the photograph of which I am showing you over here. So this is a unique ecosystem where large cranes, some of which go to 176 centimeters. So this unique habitat of saline lakes with pastoral sort of shrublands and swamps are the homes to the Siberian cranes and the black-necked cranes. So this is the habitat for the black-necked cranes. The non-breeding areas are shown across Burma to Tibet, and the breeding areas are mostly in Tibet and inner China and in the areas that we were talking about. So this wetland is very, very unique. We come to the second wetland, which is this. This is the satellite image of the Somarari, which I showed you in the first picture, and then the Sokar, which is the smaller lake. We go to the three idiots paradigm now, and this is the Pongong So Lake, which is partly in India and partly in China. In fact, predominantly in China and partly in India. And this is the place where the fingers to the north are seen. The conflicts between India and China are happening here. But this Pongong So Lake is unique in the sense that it is one of the highest lakes in India. And you can see the wetlands developed close to Lukung and Chusul. So this lake is saline. This is the three idiot location that you can see. It's a beautiful lake. Not lot of the biodiversity is seen. This is a cold desert. It gets frozen. The temperatures never exceed 18 to 19 degrees. And this is the area where we are working on this wetland geologically as well as from the biodiversity point of view. So that's me standing there in the three idiot paradigm. And you can see the marble rocks at the back. And that's the line of control that we see in the background with China. Okay, so the lake is very beautiful. It's very transparent. And a lot of Central Asian birds visit seasonally in this lake. So the chemistries are typical. The lake is alkaline, but it contains a lot of sodium and potassium. Okay, so the lake is alkaline and a lot of sodium and potassium and sulfate and chloride is present in the water. And in these waters, we find that a lot of cyanobacteria and algae grow. Okay, though it's not forming an algal bloom. The waters are very, very clear, but whatever zoo plankton is available over there, that supports the wetlands. But geologically, a very interesting thing is happening to this wetland. On the shores, we found such radiating crystals. And when we brought them and we analyzed them by X-ray, we found that this is crystallization of an important salt known as thenardite. Okay, so we have salts of thenardite, which is nothing but sodium sulfate, right? And what is the significance of sodium sulfate? So these are beautiful crystals of sodium sulfate, the longer crystals, and we have normally at sea level, we find that sodium chloride, which is the salt that you consume, okay, on the table, the salt that we eat along with the food, that is sodium chloride, and that sodium chloride is in the form of cubes. But at higher altitudes in the Pongong So Lake, we find that they are not cubes, but they are octahedral. That means their forms is changing. And that's very important because octahedral sodium chloride crystallizes only when there is formic acid in the lake. Okay, and this is an analogy for how life will evolve in Mars. So many of the Martian lakes in the past on the planet Mars would be sodium chloride rich. And if there are any evidences of life there, we would see them in the form of phytoliths like the one that I am pointing to. So this is an organic molecule, organic remain in the salt made from bombardment of cosmic rays and the unique wetland in Pongong So. So this lake definitely acts as an analog to the lakes that could have been present on Mars. Okay, and what is the significance from this? It shows that these salts crystallize at temperatures of 20 to 40 degrees. So if we are saying that Ladakh is a cold desert, for the first time, we are seeing the signs of global warming in this wetland. in the form of tenoidite crystals. And we estimated temperatures. So the temperatures achieved by the Pangong So Lake at the shores was around 26 degrees. So yes, global warming is definitely affecting our wetlands. There is mineralogical evidence to say that the Pangong So heats up to 26 degrees to 30 degrees in the present day scenario, and therefore all of our glaciers are melting. हमारे तो जो ये है ना politicians, वो तो बड़े बड़े सपने दिखाते हैं. For example, interlinking. All the glaciers in the Himalayas are melting. Water in the Indian Constitution is a state subject. किसका पानी किसको दोगे? दिल्ली बता रहा है कि तमिलनाडु को पानी देंगे. उत्तर प्रदेश खुद पानी लेता है नेपाल से. Bihar is taking the Kosi waters. So the wetland studies in the Himalayas, higher Himalayas, are saying that the wetlands are heating up, the biodiversity is in immediate threat, and our glaciers are melting. So it is another thing for politicians to sell us dreams, interlinking. The Ganga itself is stressed. There is no water. States are fighting amongst themselves for water. So unless we are aware, the public is aware, we will be taken for a ride by our politicians. That is the first message coming from this set of ecosystems, wetland ecosystems from the Himalayas. What is the other point? That the sodium sulfate, from the engineering point of view, whenever there is a sodium sulfate in the waters, it should never be used for construction. Here in Pune also, because the sodium sulfate crystallizes in your homes. Also, you can see the salt efflorescence in the floor where the water seeps. There, if you get such efflorescence, it means that sodium sulfate is crystallizing. Mumbai में building collapse होता है. क्यों होता है? Because the salt water eats into the reinforced concrete, eats into the steel bars, and destroys the superstructures. And then there is a building collapse. So the message from the wetlands from top is very clear. They are in trouble. The global climate changes are increasing their temperature. The solubility of sodium sulfate in these waters is increasing. Biodiversity, habitats get destroyed. Any constructions with this sodium sulfate water is going to pose structural problems for civil engineering. So that is the first message from this lecture. Now let us come to more closer to our city, Bombay, Pune. We are aware that there are huge wetlands along the coastline of India. These we know as mangrove swamps. Okay, so these are mostly salt tolerant trees. These forms a unique ecosystem. And this wetlands is characterized by stilt roots. भर्ती के समय पानी ऊपर चला जाता है and salt water comes into these wetlands. They are teeming with life. Most of the crabs, most of the shrimp, these live and grow over here. The lampreys, for example. The mud flats, the oysters, okay, the ones that we eat, they are all related to this unique mangrove ecosystem. They are characterized by stilt roots like what you see over here exposed in the low tide zone, and by viviparous germination for people who have biological backgrounds. So directly the seeds germinate on the plant and they fall into the water and start growing. And species like Avicennia and Rhizophora, they have these breathing roots because the waters are devoid of oxygen and the mud is anoxic. So they have the roots that breathe. So these mangrove swamps are important and many people know about it. But the topic that I am going to deal with is a unique ecosystem. So the mangroves grow along the coastal areas. They are a unique wetland. But along the Western Ghats, along the Sahyadris, we find that there is tremendous amount of biodiversity. So this is a World Heritage Site in terms of hotspot biodiversity. The maximum number of species per square kilometers indicates that in India, this is the most rich place where maximum flora and fauna occur. And along this Western Ghats, there are high area swamps, most of them freshwater, and low area swamps, again freshwater, that form a typical ecosystem known as the Myristica Swamps. This is unique to India. Okay, and Myristica Swamps are swamps that are freshwater, they are evergreen, and they contain important trees. If you don't know what is Myristica, then हम जब बिरयानी बनाते हैं उसमें we use two ingredients. जायफल, right? जायफल का seed and the jaifal bract. This we put in the biryani. It gives you a good aroma and it gives you a good flavor. So jaifal belongs to the Myristica group of plants. They are considered to be one of the ancient most. So you cannot eat too much of jaifal. You will get drowsy. It is toxic. It is also poison. Okay, but in biryani it's one of the best ingredients. Right? Biryani without jaifal is no biryani. Anyway, so that's basically the Myristica swamps for you. And they are found in India as small isolated pockets along the Western Ghats, in Andaman and Nicobar, and in Meghalaya. And they are endangered. So this is the Western Ghats. This is southern Western Ghats. This is the border between Goa and Maharashtra, and this is known as the Tilari Ghat area, and it's a reserve forest. Beautiful biodiversity in this. It is also the place for the last place for the Meristica swamps and for the king cobras. This is king cobra terrain. Of course, elephants from Karnataka come over here before they come into Kolhapur. So this is their elephant corridor, and it is also part of the tiger reserve, Koina Tiger Reserve. So this is the beautiful Western Ghats, a lot of grasses, a lot of tropical, evergreen and deciduous forest are found. And within that, you find that the geology, the rainfall, and the physiography are wonderful locales for the development of this unique ecosystem of forest, evergreen forest, plus the Myristica swamps. For the geologist over here, the rocks are basically biotite gneiss, amphibolites, and of course quaternary sediments. So I'm taking you to Helwai over here in southern Maharashtra, close to the border between Goa and. So this is the Tilari Reservoir. Remember, the Tilari is the last dam in Maharashtra, and Tilari Reservoir supplies all of its electricity and water, the only canals in Goa, and all of the electricity in Goa is supplied from this dam, the Tilari Ghat. And this reservoir is on this unique river which starts in the Western Ghats and then comes down and flows, and then there is a dam. And if you notice over here, this is a Google image, you can find that the river actually has small meanders and cutoff channels. So you can see the cutoff channel over here, first order stream coming, And then this area, which is marked by the red, is basically the green forest that you see here, dense forest. That is the Meristica Swamp. So quickly, without boring you, I will take you through this. Just enjoy the beautiful images if you don't understand the science. So this is the Western Ghats and the Tilari area, and this is the cultivation areas. Okay, in the foreground, you can see these marks over here. These are impressions, elephant foot impressions, because this is the elephant corridor to Radhanagari Wildlife Sanctuary from Goa and from Karnataka. And there are some Cocos nucifera, that is basically the coconut plants over here in the cultivation area. And this is the floodplain of the river where paddy is grown. But in the midground, you can see the beautiful thick Myristica forest. And the forest is just starting from the edge of the photograph to the right and extends slightly more to the left. So this is a very, very small niche habitat in which tall trees, evergreen trees of Myristica grow. The rock, of course, for the geologist is that the rock is basically a quaternary sediment, and this sediment actually blocks and creates a paleo channel. A small cutoff from the river where the Meristica swamps develop. And they have incredible biodiversity. They are rich in species. They extend from Kerala to Uttar Kannada, into Goa, and only one Meristica swamp is found in Tilari Ghat in Maharashtra. So that's very unique. But in Kerala, for example, they contain 65 tree species, 72 species, herbs, a lot of biodiversity, 20% of the reptiles of the Western Ghats, 26% of the bird population in the Western Ghats. And of course, most of this is under stress. They are in the IUCN red list of endangered species. So very, very unique ecosystem that people are not aware of. These have not been studied geologically, even today. Even today, you put the search in Google and you will get no geology of this. And therefore, we are studying this. So these are the endangered ecosystems. These are wetlands. These are swamps in which there is tremendous amount of tree species, unique tree species that are itself endangered. Myristica magnifica, for example. Okay, so this is the beautiful fruit and flowers of the Myristica plant. Okay, just the importance of this. If there are people with botanical backgrounds, they will understand. The leaves are very, very simple, and the trees grow very, very tall. Okay, in fact, there are numerous cultural for Holi. Most of the Hindus will cut the Myristica log, and then they will put it in the central pole and then burn it every year. So they are really in trouble, the Myristica swamps. Okay, and this is the unique Myristica swamps, thick evergreen forest with waters, perennial waters. Most of the water is acidic, 4 pH. Okay, so nothing else grows over there, and therefore this unique Myristica flora grows over there with tall trees and stilt roots. So these are the breathing stilts or roots for the Myristica swamp. You can see the background where the water is turbid because it was rainy season when we took these photographs, and the water is acidic because of humic acid. All the leaves fall down there, and they get converted into organic material and humic acid. And these unique ecosystems are freshwater. Do not mix them with the mangrove forest. And so the example over here, we were in the time when it was fruiting. This is the fruit of Myristica magnifica. So you can see it's familiar. It's in your kitchen. You have the jaifal in the middle. And of course, you have the bract of the jaifol that you use in the biryani from top, the orange to yellow colored net that you use for the biryani. And this fruit is very unique to the Western Ghat, Myristica swamps. They are used as medicinal plants. The bark of the Myristica is used for making matchsticks, for making poles, for growing rubber plantations, for growing pepper. But what is important is that this unique ecosystem of wetland is a symbiosis. The hornblende population, okay, the Malabar grey hornblende, for example, its life and life cycle is dependent upon the Meristica swamp, and the Meristica swamps are dependent on the hornbills, because the hornbills eat this and they disperse the seeds. So it is a unique interaction between geology, biology, ornithology, and wetland ecosystems. And humans are destroying this for their greed, for rubber plantation, for tea plantations, for growing spice. And so bird conservationists need to understand this. If the Myristica swamps are alive, the hornblendes will come, they will disperse. If the hornbills are gone, the Myristica swamps are gone. What a beautiful symbiotic association. Unique species like the dancing frogs in the Western Ghats, unique to Myristica swamps. Tree frogs. Some of the Myristica frogs are just being discovered. New species are being discovered. Vipers, different varieties, crabs, dragonflies, mushrooms, fungi. Several of them are being investigated and discovered. They are such a unique. If there are any new discoveries, most probably they are from the Myristica swamps. And people are not even aware of that they exist. Our friend Karthik Balasubramaniam from Agarkar Research Institute, he is discovering species after species of diatoms from Myristica swamps. They have this beautiful team of students. So in Agarkar Research Institutes, a lot of work is being done on diatoms. A lot of you from Pune College, through this medium of the lectures, can reach out to several people to work on these unique ecosystems. Diatoms, by the way, are basically whatever fish you eat, for example, cod liver oil. Okay, the cod liver oil is told, people are told that the cod liver oil is extracted from the liver of the cod fish. Yes, that is true. But the fish does not make the oil. The fish eats this diatom and the diatoms produce the cod liver oil. So the fish simply eats the diatoms, extrudes all of this silica endoskeleton and stores the oil in the liver. And you buy it as 7Cs for omega-3 fatty acids. And unique species of diatoms are present in these wetlands, undiscovered. So several of you can be accommodated in such research projects, in such endeavors on the Myristica swamps. Of course, everyone knows that the Myristica swamps are important. Why? Because they are nutrient fixing. They regulate the temperature. They regulate the water quality of the swamps. I will not read through this. As I'm speaking, you can do that. They are unique. They are acidic waters. They are low in salinity. They filter heavy metal pollutants from our water systems, from the rock. They incorporate a lot of organic carbon into the soil. They add phosphates. They remove excess nitrogen. Several of these processes. But here we are not in for a technical lecture on those aspects, so I'll keep it low on that. But there is a need for conservation, tremendous need for conservation. These are unique. 17 out of 51 observed swamps, Myristica swamps, are completely endangered and have gone extinct in the past 5 years. In the past 5 years, thanks to rubber plantations, thanks to making the matchbox, jo tili hai na, that also was made from Meristica swamps. Of course, the silver oak was also used for making the machis ki tili. So this is the unique ecosystem of the Myristica swamp. And in this swamp, you find that there are several paradigms to take. One is that if we save Project Tiger, once the tiger is protected, then the entire ecosystem is protected. In the Western Ghats, there are not much occurrences of tiger. So the Western Ghats, you know, there is shekru, that is the giant red squirrels. There are a lot of carnivorous plants. But if you conserve Meristica swamps, then that becomes the theme. If you conserve hornbills in the Western Ghats, then you deal with the Meristica swamps. And if you take care of the hornbills, and if you take care of the Meristica swamps, then the other parts of the forest are automatically conserved. So here I am showing you unique ecosystems that exist within the Indian diaspora of landscapes, within the geology of these landscapes. In fact, not a single paper on the hydrogeology of the Meristica swamps. Believe me, there is not a single map showing you the Meristica swamp distribution in the Western Ghats on the internet. And I'm not surprised. So dear friends, without giving you too much of dose on the Meristica swamps and the unique wetlands, I'm not a conservationist, I'm not a biologist, I'm not an ecosystem man, but this is the aspects that you students from geology and through the endeavor of Pune College and interactions between various departments, both at the university level and within the college, Pune College, you can work out your dissertations and other things on such unique wetland systems to understand the hydrogeology of that, because the biological world depends upon the abiotic factors, depends upon climate, depends upon many other aspects of the hydrological cycles. And if we don't understand this, then we will not understand how to conserve our biodiversity, how to conserve our wetlands. And I think so, this is what I wanted to say, and I thought that I will bring this aspect in today's lecture. Thank you, sir, Irfan sir, Hundekari sir, and my young friends and colleagues from the department. Thank you for having me. And if there are any questions, I am as bad as anyone on this topic, but I will try to take some questions if there are some.
Now the session is open to Dr. Duraswami. If there are any questions, do ask. Over to the audience.
सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है.
हाँ बताइए प्लीज.
सर मेरिस्टिका स्वॉम्प्स जो बता रहे थे आप, उसको अपन एक्सटेंड हो रहा है तो उसको कैसे प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हैं? हाउ टू प्रोटेक्ट इट?
नहीं, जैसे अपने बहुत सारे लॉज है ना इंडिया में, वही प्रॉब्लम है. लॉज तो है, तो कोई इम्प्लीमेंट करने में, जैसा ट्रैफिक ना सिग्नल पे रुकना नहीं है या रुकना है, लॉसेस रुकना है, हम लोग रुकते नहीं है. सो योर क्वेश्चन इज करेक्ट. So from the legal aspect, the Forest Act applies to the Meristica swamps. The Western Ghats Biodiversity Reserve guidelines apply. But people, no, like I told you, होली में इसकी जो बल्ली है central वाला, it's like a straight. Some of the trees are 20-30 feet tall, straight poles. So this is a cultural aspect. They fell the Myristica swamp and then they put it in the central part of the village और होली जलाते हैं. तो इसमें तो अवेयरनेस की काम है ना, ये तो लॉ से कोई ताल्लुकात नहीं रखता. और अगर जायफल खाना है तो इसको तो बचाना ही है ना. नेचुरल जो प्रोड्यूस है हमको, है ना, जैसा मोस्ट ऑफ द वेस्टर्न घाट, तेज पत्ता हो या दालचीनी हो, अपना दालचा चला जाएगा भैया. इफ देयर इज नो मेरिस्टिका बैक, है ना, सोच लो, बिना दालचीनी के अगर दालचा बनता है तो हो गया, तो दाल ही हो गया ना फिर वो.
Best example, sir.
बेस्ट एग्जांपल ना सर. इट्स राइट टाइम टू ईट ऑल दीज थिंग्स आल्सो. इट्स लंच टाइम.
सर आपने डायरेक्ट दोनों भी मेन आइटम्स निकाल रहे हैं सर आप नॉन वेज से, बिरयानी भी और दालचा भी सर.
और तो 1 बज गए ना भैया. तो मिरिस्टिका स्वाम्प का कनेक्ट देखिए हमारे खाने से है, राइट. अपना कल्चर और इथॉस के साथ है ना. जब बिरयानी बनी ना ईरान में, ईरान और अफगानिस्तान में, बलूचिस्तान में मैं जैसा बहुत बार जा चुका हूँ, तो वहां पे ये 2 चीज नहीं पड़ती है, दालचीनी और उसमें फर्क है. यू कैन मेक आउट द फ्लेवर्स, देयर इज अ डिफरेंस. तो वो यहाँ पे इंडिया में आके लखनवी बिरयानी और हैदराबादी बिरयानी में फर्क वही है. There is a difference. If you go down to Kerala or Tamil Nadu, the biryani is different over there.
Yes.
Right? इसमें uniqueness यही है कि मिरिस्टिका swamp यूज हो रहा है, ingredients हो रहा है. Right? तो ईरानी बिरयानी और even अफगानी बिरयानी you will get with जाफरान, है ना. उसमें even लखनवी बिरयानी जाफरान का ज्यादा ये है, फ्लेवर है. But towards south, this is the uniqueness of the Meristica swamp. The jaifal comes into the play, and even in the sher kurma, and I think so even in kheer, है ना, even in the kheer, I think so. ये थोड़ा हम लोग डालते हैं जायफल, right? And so that's the unique part of it. So this is what. See, when it comes to conservation and wetlands, if you can emphasize the need to conserve this through your food, through your culture, that would be a much more better this thing. Of course, as I said, and I was not surprised that nothing on hydrogeology and nothing on the sedimentology of the nothing comes out in the Google search. I tried, nothing comes out, right? And also only newspaper reports come out through the Google. You can see that. Okay, so it's time that we understand this unique nature, right? Cultivated spices are okay, but you require the natural stock to keep the herd moving, to keep the biodiversity live. So these are the unique things. So I have not answered his question very well, but I think so I've made the parallel reference to it. So we need to make people aware that, okay, this spice comes from here, and that much is good enough to the conservation. बाकी laws तो लगे रहे, कोई फायदा नहीं. ना 500 रुपए देने से जैसा traffic police will allow you to go, वैसा laws है. Sir.
सर आपने बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट इशू किया और बहुत अच्छा आपने जवाब भी दिया. मैं एक ऐड करना चाहूंगा सर. I have gone 2 times to US for 6 months, and whichever the area society I am staying with my son-in-law or my brother-in-laws, in their society there are the wetlands. They have been preserved very well. Number of birds are there, animals are there, and people are coming and they are playing, enjoy with them that birds. And whenever I see them, immediately I recollect. We have been always conducting the Wetland Day celebration program. We have been conducting in Pune
Yes,
College.
sir. Yes,
Very
sir.
nice. And the second one, whichever the wetland areas are there in, particularly in the south, Chennai,
Mhm.
they have been totally encroached by the urbanization. And due to the last flood has taken place in Chennai.
Correct.
And the airport itself has been flooded.
Flooded, exactly.
This is one of the problem now. If we could not preserve our wetlands, these are the things which is going to happen in Pune also.
Yes, sir. This
I
is
have seen in Pune, many of the wetlands which are there, they have been covered by the buildings.
correct, sir. If I can add the Pune paradigm, which I did not, most of the wetlands, for example, the Pashan Lake, no, the Pashan Lake was a beautiful classical example of bird conservation and wetland. I will take a unofficial stand on this because I did the PMC hydrological survey 10 years back. And let me tell you, most of the wetlands in Pune are with pesticides, DDT, BHC, and in Pashan there is mercury also. So I didn't want to go there because it will become sub judice from my GSD point of view also, because I did the study myself. And so a lot of groundwater and lot of wetland areas show pesticides, organochloride, DDT, BHC, and the biomagnifications. और हम लोग तो चिलापी तो खाते हैं, tilapia. We don't know the tilapia is coming from where. So please remember that tilapia, it's an introduced species, okay, and a lot of us are eating it actually. It's being sold in the rivers. So the biomagnifications of this cadmium, is, lead, mercury comes through the fish. So most of the rao that we eat, fresh water, especially from Ujni Dam, okay, they could be toxic actually. So we have to be very, very careful. So these wetlands are sinks for such toxic elements. Okay, you hear suddenly people are dying of liver cancer or are having a lot of ailments even at younger age. So a lot of you see mercury, for example, is not a talked subject. Not many labs actually even analyze mercury. And every सुनार का जो दुकान है ना, उसमें जो पॉलिशिंग होता है तो उसमें गोल्ड डस्ट जनरेट होता है. So the gold dust falls on the ground when they are polishing, and in the evening the gold smith are basically collecting the gold with mercury, liquid mercury. So the gold dust is collected by lay. So सोनार गली जिधर भी है, ज्वेलर्स शॉप, वहां पे mercury pollution होना ही है. And that mercury reaches the wetland, and that mercury goes into the biodiversity, especially the fish. The birds get affected then. There is over the generation the mercury, because 0.1 ppm of mercury becomes carcinogenic. What the body does is simply picks up the mercury and it cannot keep it in the blood. So it puts it into the liver, and the mercury goes into the hair. That is where the body can simply deposit. Okay, and mercury chloride, that is the most important this thing. So this goes into the ecosystem. Then we consume the fish, we consume the thing. जैसा वो जो है ना dump है आपका, all of the solid waste management at Urli Devachi. Okay, so all of the lead batteries are going into that this thing, and then जो ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल है वो तो कुछ जाता है, उसका मैन्योर बोल के many of the people I can see it going front of Syed sir's house also on the highway. Okay, all of that dump is going to Urli, Kanchan, Loni, and they are spreading it in the on the farmlands as organic manure. Okay, and all of the cadmium and the lead is coming into the palak, into the bhaji, and it's coming into you and me. So the wetlands are very important from that point of view, because these heavy metals can be actually settled in the sediments of the wetland. And therefore, this whole vicious cycle of health and ecosystem, and I'm happy sir said that we can spend quality times in this wetland with our families. है ना, नहीं तो बाकी का पॉलिटिक्स और बाकी का ये स्ट्रेस है ही जिंदगी का. So these wetlands are unique places where we can have wetland ecosystems. Okay, even the quarries can be converted into wetland. The good example of quarry being converted into wetland is in front of Kirloskar Bangla, behind the on the FC road, Ferguson College Road. Okay, yeah, there is a quarry over there, sir. Just if you remember the old Ban Namaska site or on Irani Cafe on the road near Agriculture College, just behind it is the quarry which has been converted into a unique wetland. Almost visit it.
Also, sir, while going to the Tingre Nagar, there
Yes,
is
sir.
a big quarry there that has been converted into wetland.
Correct, sir. And in fact, that person wanted to sell it for building constructions. क्योंकि parking के लिए lot होता था. So
Yeah.
that case had come to GSDA, and we said that most of the Tingre Nagar area is recharged through that quarry.
Yeah.
And therefore GSDA did not give the clearance for the construction of the society in that quarry.
Now, sir, especially in the US, wherever the wetlands are there,
Yes, sir.
around them, whatever foods are there, especially I eat blackberries, mulberries, even apple have been ate over there in along the wetlands area.
Correct, sir. And most of our wetlands, no, in Sangli, Tasgaon, Urli Kanchan, okay, and even in Nasik, we use arsenic, sir. Okay, and even in poultry feed, because the poultry feed is preserved by arsenic salts. है ना, आयुर्वेदा में तो भस्म है ही. But the nanoparticles of arsenic are not toxic, not harmful. अगर भस्म बनाने में ये हो गया, problem हो गया, तो it will become carcinogenic. And all of the grapes are sprayed by arsenic salts. So all of the arsenic finally ends up in the wetlands, in the river system, and then comes into our food chain. So buy your eggs and chicken from people who are using good feed, not preserved by arsenic. Otherwise you are, है ना सर, ये जो सफेद बाल हो जाते हैं ना, वही स्टोरेज का इफेक्ट है. Right, so all the trace elements are just stored in the hair. So this is the unique thing, and I'm happy that we could discuss so many aspects of these wetlands. They are very, very unique, not only for biodiversity, but for our own health. For our own health. So if any student has some question, I would like to take it, because don't think that there is an expert out there. No, 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 no. We have to be the experts. We have to learn. So if you think that your question is silly and not, I mean, it's just common sense, then it's the right question you're supposed to ask.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, Amir.
So what is the reason for high saline water in the lake Pangsong?
Pangong, so? Okay.
Yeah.
So this brings us to the concept of residence time of salts. Okay, so the oceans, why are they saline? Why? Because they accumulate salts, right? So the residence time of sodium chloride, कितना है भाई? पानी में, ocean में. So the resident time of sodium chloride told by Aristotle just now is 55 million years. So therefore our oceans are accumulation of sodium chloride. That's why the oceans are salty. So all of the sodium chloride comes from the rock, right? The chloride comes from the atmosphere. So the sodium comes from the rock, the chloride comes from the atmosphere. And all of that, the streams are carrying them away and they are dumped in the ocean, right? So if you bring, I am told yesterday we had this also discussion over here. If you bring नमक जो है ना हम लोग रख देते हैं टेबल पे, या पंगत में जो बैठते हैं ना, वो पहली चीज ला के देते हैं वो नमक ही डालते हैं या बसा, राइट? सो नमक और नींबू है, and we wash our hands also with namak. So the residence time for salt, that means if you bring 1 chammach of namak from the sea to Pune, say in Pune College canteen, then that 1 spoon of salt will not leave the Mula Muta watershed for 125 years. So don't waste your salt. That is what you can do. 125 years is the resident time in a freshwater ecosystem. That salt remains over there. It doesn't go out. फिर आपने तो सब कुछ किया है water conservation का, पानी का बहाव कम कर दिया, तो वो salt उधर ही रहता है. So the residence time of sodium chloride is 125 years. It will remain in that unique ecosystem for at least 100 years and then go into the next ecosystem, and finally it will go to the sea. So the salinity is because of natural processes, but humans have not understood what they are doing. Okay, Gandhi started with the salt satyagraha, but the salt is another problem. Okay, the other problem of sodium chloride, ना पहले तो हम लोग खमंग use करते थे, yeast to bake our bread, so bakery में ना. Nowadays they are using potassium chloride. Yeast नहीं डालते हैं सर, potassium chloride. The chemist have said अरे वही काम होता है, तो chloride potassium bromide, so bakery में use होता है potassium bromide KBr, that is put in the आटा, और पहले तो लादी के लादी बना के रखते थे दोपहर को और शाम को बेकिंग होता था. Now you just put KBr in the salt in the ladi and then make the pav. If there is sodium bromide in the pav left, the residue of sodium bromide, then when you eat that pav, what happens is that the potassium bromide gets released in the stomach, and then you get irritable bowel syndrome, you get acidity, you get ulcers, and in many cases cancer. Bromide, the cycle of bromide. Humans have learned to use potassium bromide instead of yeast. So if I have scared you enough.
Yeah. So this is a very important one for everyone.
For everyone. So
eating the bread, for them they should know whether in that bakery it is used as a KBR.
Exactly. No labels nowhere at all.
Yes, and whatever we are using, salt also, unnecessarily no need to say, excess salt can throw into the water.
It
So
reaches the wetland.
Recycle, that is become a problem. So
yes.
This is awareness now. Yes.
It's an awareness.
Yes,
and the other thing ना सर,
awareness.
जो चाट मसाला में जो काला नमक यूज करते हो ना सर, चाट मसाला में काला नमक, the rock salt. The rock salt contains fluoride. इसलिए आपको बाहर का चाट खाने के बाद flatulence और सब, एक प्लेट खा लिया आप, you feel that you are full because the bromide fluxing happens in the stomach, and fluoride cannot be removed by the body, so it accumulates in your bones. So I have seen many people, they come on the thela, they are eating chaat masala in the pani puri, in the this thing, उसमें और नमक डालो भैया, this is the general this thing, और फिर बिस्लरी का पानी पीते. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? The problem is in the fluoride is in the kala namak.
We have been giving now. So
yes, sir.
This will be those who are present now today. They have to make today now that they should not be eat anything outside.
No,
yes,
no, sir.
On the road. Yes, that is a very, very harmless. They have to eat in the home. Prepare yourself in the home and can eat now. No problem.
Yes, sir. And you save the wetlands that way.
Yes, wetland. That's important.
So thank you, sir. It has been a wonderful discussion.
Very good, sir. Very good lecture. And this will be a lot of things are there to learn by the students, and they have to make a practice. That is a very important one.
Yes. And I think so. If the students are from geology, then we have spoken about medical geology through the wetland, through the wetland
Excellent.
ecosystems. Okay, if we are affected, think about the plants and animals in the wetland, right?
Yes, anyone
Sir,
has
I
any
stay in
questions, I
Daund,
can
and
ask.
yeah, I'll tell you another this thing that the fish in Ujni Dam, because fish are very sensitive to temperature, number one, and the other thing, they are very sensitive to organic residue, right? So because of the pollution, especially these anti-pregnancy tests, jo hai, pregna and other things, these organic material finally reach the Ujni waters, and I've been told both by the fishing community that there is some problem with this ecosystem, because last year they found only female fishes in their catch. Okay, तो जो they are making observations, जो मच्छी बेचते हैं ना, पकड़ के बेचते हैं, they are realizing कि भाई only female fishes are coming from for some years. So this is definitely there. Our ecosystems are getting, and you realize that the flamingos, they may not come in the Ujni ecosystems. So there were a lot of things that I could have discussed using conventional ecosystems, but I thought it is Pune College, and we must talk about Dalchini and nutmeg, or so therefore I chose the Myristica Swamps. So thank you for having me, I mean, and having this wonderful discussion.
Okay, are there any questions? Then, on behalf of AKS Pune College, I would thank Dr. Raymond Duraswami for giving the valuable lecture, not just about wetland, but about the food which we eat and how it will affect, or indirectly or directly will lead to the polluting of our wetland. I hope that this is an awareness to one and all. We will love to have more interacting session with Duraswami sir.
अरे
And
Raymond sir
I will
बोलो,
also
Raymond sir बोलो.
Raymond sir.
Duraswami थोड़ा odd लगता है, हाँ.
Yes, sir. Raymond sir. I would also thank the participants, the stakeholders, those who have attending this session. Not but the least, I would thank the principal of our college and vice principal Iqbal Sheikh for giving us the permission to organize such a valuable session. Also, I would thank our head of department, Associate Professor Dr. Sajid Undikar sir, for being a part of the cooperative session. But the least, I would thank all my colleagues and faculty and non-faculty members for directly or indirectly helping to make this session a wonderful, interactive as well as awareness campaign. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Mohammed
sir.
Thank you, Raymond sir. Thank you very much. It was nice.
Thank you, Sheikh sir, Irfan Sheikh sir, and thank you, Mohsin. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye. See you.
Thank you. Your letters will be and honorarium will be.
Sir, don't worry about the honorarium. I would cherish the letter. Thank you, please.
Now, do one thing, sir. You just sign the voucher, and whatever the money is there, we will distribute into the poor students. Those who are the students who would not pay the fees, for them I will share that amount.
Absolutely, sir. Pleasure, sir.
Yes, here I have announced anyone has a difficulty for paying the fees. Sir is going to have a donation, 1,500 rupees. Any student who desire to have this amount, he can contact me tomorrow or after tomorrow.
Please, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. God bless.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Shukriya, sir. Thank you.
Ending.